Hello and welcome to What's the Big Deal About Greenville? In this episode, I chat with Bill Mitchell. Bill is the owner and founder of Billiam Jeans, a custom denim company that's here in downtown Greenville. They just opened up a new shop here in the Commons, and he was generous enough to sit down and share his story with me. I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. I think about this all the time because I think it's important not to forget your initial story and where everything started, because when you're first starting, you have no idea that, this is an idea that'll last for 10 years or it'll last for 1 year. Yeah. Or, you wake up the next day and you're doing something else. But I had a friend that tailored clothes, and then after a little bit, I was like, I'm really curious where this guy buys his clothes. So I asked him, and so he's like, well, man, I actually have a sewing machine, and I tailor all of my clothes myself. And that's such a crazy thing to do. I've never heard of anyone doing that. And so I started doing it as well. I was working at a call center at the time, super bored. And and then I was just showing up to the call center feeling like $1 million. All my confidence had come back because my clothes were fitting right. And then I just started wearing those clothes around. Friends started asking me to tailor their clothes. And then over time, I started making things from scratch. Okay. So I made a pair of blue jeans, and then kind of the rest was history.
So you would just make them fit a little bit better for yourself, like take them apart, put them back together, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I was always really tall and skinny, so shirts were either too short or the sleeves were always too big. Yep. I was in that middle ground. So. Yeah.
So what drew you to jeans in particular? Was there some kind of challenge with jeans, or did you feel like that was something people wanted, or what was the reason behind that?
I think looking back, I was tailoring so many things, so many different things for people that
Were you doing suits?
Everything.
Okay,
I was doing suits. I was doing bridesmaids' dresses.
Oh wow!
I was doing t-shirts, jackets, windbreakers, jeans, like everything you can imagine. My friends and I would go to Goodwill and we would buy everything, and I would just fix it all.
What was the craziest project you had in that period?
Oh man. Well, I think
the bridesmaid's dress that is pretty.
Some things I should not have been doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a lot of self-confidence that I can figure it out, and that's just kind of how I've grown up. And so I think that jeans was a product that I made that most people had a hard time finding. Mm-hmm. So I think that if I was going to do this in another world, I could have picked any of those products to make my career, make my main thing.
Sure.
But I think jeans was the thing that just naturally was asked about more than anything else. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I think that's why I did that.
Did you base it off just the typical 5-pocket model, or did you try and reinvent it, or how did that evolve?
Well, I think that initially I just wanted to make it the right way, the way that Levi's made it back in the day, or with the 5-pocket blue jean. And I was just making the traditional thing, learning the right machines that I needed to buy, and what thread and what patterns and the whole thing. So it turned out to be a probably 3 to 4 year pursuit just to figure out how to do that correctly. And then over the last 6 years has been learning how to scale it and learning how to hire people and train people.
It's a business side.
Yeah, business, yeah.
Any particular type of denim you like working with?
Yeah, initially it started off making jeans out of kind of the old world denim. There's this mill up in Greensboro called Cone Mills, and they were the most famous denim mill, been around for 125 years, and they were making this one particular kind of denim called selvage denim, and people just loved it. There's this big cult following online. There are all these.
I've heard the name thrown around. What is it?
So selvage denim is basically just denim woven on these old school looms called draper looms. And draper looms would weave denim at 30 to 33 inches wide. And on the outsides of each edge, they would finish the edge of the material. So like if you normally were going to go buy fabric from a fabric store, and you look at this big roll, it looks all fuzzy on the outside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've seen that.
So these draper looms would actually take that fuzziness and weave it so it's finished. So instead of cutting off that fuzziness, you include it into the garment. That is selvage, self-edge, finished edge.
Oh, okay.
So you have this finished edge on the outseam of your jeans, and we put it on our change pocket too. And it's just kind of this indicator line that makes the denim more noticeable and kind of like period correct. Mm-hmm. And so now that mill has closed, they closed 2 years ago. We bought as much as we possibly could, and now that it's closed, it's become quite rare.
Right. Okay. Is there any other? Do you source it here locally, or are there still mills in our area that are?
Well, it's all closed basically. I mean, there's one mill in Georgia that makes denim, but they make kind of really work quality, so not really high quality. Yeah. And I'm sure they'll change over time because there's a need in the market. But initially, it was the old school stuff because that's what people really wanted, and then I got to the point where I started using stretch denim. Because then I found that more people wanted that, and now I want to figure out completely different materials to use than denim, kind of stretching back to that initial place of why jeans. I think now it's more of a service that we offer than a jean company.
There's a historical significance to jeans, with Levi Strauss, mm-hmm. and the California Gold Rush and that sort of thing, and just as an entrepreneur, just trying to find a way to make money, when you're kind of out there in the frontier, and so you kind of have that kind of a story going on too. So tell me about how we got from you're doing your tailoring, you're in your parents' basement. How do you get to having your own shop? Mm-hmm. Okay, which is that's amazing, but how do you get to that point?
Well, I think you never know which one of your friends has got the gene in them mm-hmm. that can't stop. Certain people are maybe really annoying or maybe just always coming up with things, but you never know who's the one that actually follows through. Yeah. And I wouldn't say that I'm an annoying person, but I got a lot of ideas, and so
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, but it was one of those that it just kind of stuck. I don't think the attention slowed with it. And I had a lot of things that I think I've always been interested in, but this was one that a lot of people kept coming to me about, mm-hmm. and it felt identity shaping. It felt like people really were, I was becoming known as this person, more so than anything I'd ever done before. And I think it's just the uniqueness of it, the rarity of the service I was offering. And I was in college at the time, so I had very eager, impressionable peers that were also interested in what I was doing. So, I think that it was just that eagerness over time, and I kept seeing that with all of my friends, and then family, and then slowly friends of friends, and then strangers, and then the news, and then live news, and then it just continued going, And then Instagram came out. When I first started doing this, Instagram was not a thing, so that helped, and then the makers movement happened, and
explain that a little bit. I know you had mentioned that. You mentioned that on your website, I believe, mm-hmm. and I'm not really familiar with what the makers movement is.
So the makers movement,
Etsy or
very much Etsy.
Okay.
I think that the idea of having a craft and selling it online. Most often I think that quilting or just maybe kind of knickknacks, cutting boards, things mm-hmm. that are pretty simple to make that are very easy to sell. You could sell it like a Christmas flea pop-up kind of flea market concept. Jeans is like a whole level crazier than what a lot of people have seen. So introducing that into the world of, kind of setting up a table, having people walk by and trying to sell them stuff, it was a really hard sell, and I think I enjoyed the challenge. Mm-hmm. That's what I would consider the makers movement. It just happened all at once. I think that a lot of people began to find their identity. Yeah.
Where's the name come from? Obviously your name.
Yeah, so William Francis Mitchell III. That's my royal name. And but Bill Mitchell is what I go by. And friends over time just call me Billiam. If your name's William, you go by Bill, we'll call you Billiam. Yeah. And I'm a musician, grew up playing in bands, and naming the band, I feel like, is where most bands probably break up. So you can't agree on the name.
All the marketing kind of hinges on did you pick the right name?
Yeah. And so to me, I was like, you know what? I've named enough bands. Billiam is what we're calling it. So
awesome. Okay, so you've been in business for 10 years at this point. It started in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
What's something you wish you would have known when you first started?
How much life you'll experience in 10 years when you have the choice of how to navigate your life. As an entrepreneur, there's no single path anyone takes. There's advice you can get, but you're going to go through things in your personal life that are going to be really amazing and then really tough at the same time. And so your business is going to follow that. You can't escape life while you're doing business. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when it's really tough, those are the moments when you really learn who you are. When you got to smile and sell at customers and you're not feeling, in a way that you want to do that. But I think you learn a lot about just the tenacity and just the struggle, if that makes sense. And then also the enjoyment of, I've had moments where I'm in Italy, sitting on a mountaintop, being wined and dined by this huge shoe company, just enjoying one of the most amazing meals of my life, or getting off a plane into London with a backpack full of jeans that I made and a sign on this huge store with our name on it. There's so many really wonderful experiences that it's just wild. It's just wild how your personal experience changes the business.
Yeah.
You can't escape it, but I think that's for the best and the worst. But I think that's what I'd say. Just how real it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody along the way inspire you? Or I know, like, in terms of mentors, it's like there might not be one specific person, but were you inspired by people? Or?
Yeah, well, there were a handful of jean companies out there that were doing a similar thing at the same time, and it was really neat to see other people making blue jeans out of this material. So there were a couple specific jean companies doing it, and then I would just say just artists that were either musicians that were writing really great things that I would just listen to while I would make, or friends that were doing other cool things that I was kind of trying to be successful alongside of them. Mm-hmm. And then I just think that just kind of being online and just watching what the world was doing. It's just, I think it was an exciting time in the 2010s to start a business.
Oh yeah, because it's completely different.
And
I know, 10 years period, that's gonna, you're gonna see changes, but man, I like having lived through it myself, it's like amazing how much the world has changed in the last 10 years.
Yes.
Any particular fashion designers that you would look to and say like, oh, I kind of like that, I like what he does, or I like what she does.
I think that's a tough one because I tried not to pay attention to anybody.
Okay.
Like there was a part about a year ago where there was a part of me that said, if I want to make something truly unique, mm-hmm. I can't be influenced by the peers that are making similar things, by my competition, or mm-hmm. I wouldn't even like to consider them competition, but like-minded people. I really like to push the envelope. I really like to break into new places. So I think as far as other fashion brands, there are people, the Japanese style is really amazing. Scandinavian style is really amazing. But I kind of like to keep it pretty general. The Nike Lab stuff is really interesting. What Lululemon in general is doing psychologically is interesting. But I try to stay away from one specific person just so I'm not looking just like them.
Right. Yeah. It's like noise reduction.
Yeah. I think I had to because I was really just picking things up from all these people. And I think I was doing things because I thought I was supposed to look a certain way. Mm-hmm. And so when I stopped doing that, I think I had a lot of freedom to just dream up new things.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Anything in particular? Like, can you talk about it? Or
yeah, well,
we got a
lot of really crazy things coming out this year. But I think that, we were making a denim jacket for a second, and it looked like the trucker jacket, like the Levi's classic trucker jacket. And I realized going into it that I was making a garment that was so difficult to make because when they first invented this thing, it was labor was so cheap. You had 1 million sewing machines in a room, or, a couple thousand in a room, and it was just different. And now here in 2019, I'm trying to make this jacket that is the most complicated garment, and it's not me. Mm-hmm. So I had to go back to the drawing board and say, let's make something that's us. Let's, take whatever we can from this, but let's make it us. So I think our jacket is one that is very much us at this moment. Our aprons, I think, are pretty unique to us. Our jeans, we're going to start doing a lot of things with pants. I wouldn't even call it jeans at this point. We're going to move into leggings this next year, which I think is going to be a huge move for us. Yeah. And then just kind of continue to see where full collection goes rather than just making blue jeans, and offering like a full service wardrobe option for people.
Right.
Do the whole thing: jacket, shirts, underwear, leggings, pants, the whole thing.
Would you like to get into like the virtual space, or like maybe do a lot of like e-marketing or e-commerce type deal?
Yeah, in my mind, I am a futurist all day long. I love the future. I love
I like it.
The Cybertruck.
The Cybertruck.
I'm into it. I want a house that's just a square of glass, and that to me, those things are so exciting. And I don't. There's a boldness that I don't see a lot of people in this particular area going after, and so I feel a responsibility to create that.
Right.
So we'll see, but I think a lot of products I want to take in that direction. Yeah.
Cool. In terms of futurism, like I think it has to do with educating the public, and why is modern beautiful, and why simplistic things are beautiful.
Totally, yeah.
Like, it's like you can overcomplicate something. Like, for instance, like you mentioned a house.
Yeah.
It's like a cube of glass.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people say, well, there's no molding. You walk in, there's, it's just straight lines everywhere. Well, molding hides imperfections in those lines.
That's right.
So when you build a modern house, you have to get every angle right. Because if you mess up just a little bit, it's going to show.
Totally.
And so like modern, I mean, just educating people on that, saying, it's not just a matter of putting squares together. It's like, to do that well takes some real talent.
Exactly.
What advice would you give to somebody starting out? So the purpose of my podcast is, like, I just want to educate people on what's going on in Greenville, and especially people who are moving in. Like, my trade's real estate, so we got a lot of people moving into Greenville all the time.
Yeah.
And some of those people are bound to be entrepreneurial. So what advice would you give to the budding entrepreneur? Kind of maybe a pitfall they could avoid, or something they should focus on to maximize their success.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a handful of things. Scratch every itch that you possibly can. If you want to try something, try it. If it turns out that your New Year's resolution to work out for 12 months turned into 2 weeks, well, you did it for 2 weeks. I think be proud of trying something and then life changing. And so having the flexibility to change is really important. And that's another piece of advice I'd say, that, if you get 5 years down the road and you've been doing one thing the same way every time, and you hate doing it that way, but you're known for it, then change it. It's like, be free to be flexible, and people appreciate the mind and the heart that goes behind it. And so a lot of times people are supporting you just because they're supporting you. So they'll buy just about anything that you're talking about if you're passionate about it. Mm-hmm. So I think that, scratch a lot of itches, try a lot of things, constantly be trying new things. Feel free to change at any time when you really feel like you need to. And then I'd say that, it's really important to get a good accountant on a very basic level. Find a good accountant. Find that. I mean, actually, that's probably one of the most important things that I'd say is, like, start with an accountant, man. And then and don't compare yourself to other people, because I've been doing this for 10 years. So if you want to start a jean company right now, we're just going to be better than you because we've done it for longer. You can't think that you're going to be an overnight success, and you might be, but you might not be ready for it. And so for me, I've tried to take everything so slow. So by the time that we were really recognized by the right people, we could handle it. And so, every Christmas is kind of a new challenge. Can we handle it this year? And so taking it slow would be another huge thing.
Do you think that's something that you just have personality-wise to just plod along, or are you risk averse, or
no? I'm a risk taker.
Taking it slow though.
Sure.
That's not typical. A lot of people try to, who've had your level of success. They're just like constantly going. Yeah,
totally. Well, we've never used a credit card. We've never had any investment, no debt from the beginning. So it has been cash.
Congratulations.
We've always been in the black. And
that's awesome.
I think that's caused us to go slow because we only had the amount of money to play with. The ship was kind of moving at slow pace because our cash flow was growing, and we were figuring that out. But now we've gotten to a point where we are kind of our own investment. And so if we need to invest in a new concept, we have the money in the bank saved to be able to do that. And so that has been a really freeing and liberating experience to have, not particularly the money that we have. Not that we have tons and tons of money, but we're doing pretty well right now. So I think that I just wasn't in a hurry. I knew that this would be successful. I just knew it. And I knew that if I took my time, then when it was really right to be very visible, then we'd know the right play at that time.
What's been the most challenging part of starting your own business?
I think for me, it's a discipline conversation at all times. Figuring out, do I need to be more disciplined, or is this who I am and I need to be more of this? Should I wake up at 11 o'clock every day and work until 4? Do a really short work day and just enjoy the whole time and just talk to people all day. Is that a good work day, or should I be here at 6 a.m. working till 8 o'clock at night? Is that what I need to be doing? So I think that when my lack of discipline is affecting other people, that's when I know I need to kind of crank into gear. And at certain times, it's seasonal. Or does that mean that I need to hire somebody to take care of that role? And so I can continue living the life that I feel like I need to live. So I think that is the biggest struggle for me.
Work-life management.
Yeah, because work as an entrepreneur is inexplicably connected to my personal life as well. So it does not stop. As much as I'd like it to. It's just who I am.
What are you most proud of so far?
I'd say not having any debt is probably the most proud thing.
Deal.
Yeah, I think that when people would call and ask for advertising, they would always ask us to be in this magazine or something like that, and say, hey, we really want you to, advertise $5,000 for the Christmas issue of blah blah blah. And I would always say, you know what, we're not going to pay for advertising for the first 10 years of our business because we want young kids to start off and say, you know what, I don't have any money either, and I don't know how I'm going to do this. It's like, well, Billiam did it for 10 years without ever paying for advertising or using any debt. You can do it too. And so that's what I would tell people, and the advertiser on the other end would be like, well, that's great. We won't call back, So that was actually a good answer to get people to stop calling me. But it also was true. I want somebody that started off from nothing to know that you can do this. So I want to be an example of that. And I am proud that we have made it thus far. And the place that we're in right now, it looks so fantastic that not many people eventually will believe that we started in a basement.
That's awesome. What type of sewing machines did you have when you were in the basement?
Oh man, well, started with my mom's. My
like
mom,
a singer,
I had a handful of singers. I started looking on Craigslist and just buying sewing machines. My first 3 sewing machines I bought in Hickory, North Carolina, from this older woman and her husband, and they were selling them to pay for diabetes medicine. And I felt so bad because at the end I was, trying to negotiate them down and everything, and they told me that's what the money was for. And I was like, okay, I'm giving you the full price. Like, I'm not, you definitely take this money. I think it was $900. And so it was Juki Singer, Union Special. handful of machines that have been around for a very long time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But Singer for sure was one of the first brands. Yeah.
Why do you think, entrepreneurial endeavors, they can tend to have like a cycle? Mm-hmm. It's like you have a lot of people coming into the market, and then you have a lot of people that kind of like peel off and go to the corporate world or choose something else. Why is it why do you think that people give up or aren't successful in this kind of a business? Why do you think that is? Or what do you think the most common reason is?
Well, I'd say that the most common reason is life. You maybe you're in college and you start a band and everything's real cool. You get a record deal or something like that, start touring around, and someone falls in love, and and then there's
is this a personal? Is
no,
anecdote?
It's not.
Okay,
definitely not. But I feel like this is just how it happens, And then you want to settle down, have kids, and then priorities change. I think having that flexibility in life, I think, is the most important thing. And if it's right, then you'll keep doing it. And then if it's wrong and something means more to you, then you'll do that. But I think most people probably quit just because the initial desire that they had, they've either gotten all the way to the end of that, and that's as far as they wanted to go, and they don't really care to dream anymore, or it got way too hard, way too fast, or they made some bad decisions along the way, or they got burned by somebody. I mean, I think that it's an external thing happening to a person that changes the way that they internally view how their path should be, and I think they just have to make a change at a certain point.
You think people are naturally entrepreneurial? Like it's like a gene that people have that like makes them want to go off on their own? Or?
I don't know. I mean, there's got to be something.
Yeah.
I think it is. Well, I don't know, because if you look at like communist places, like I'm sure there are a million people that are entrepreneurial in those places, yet they don't have the freedom that we have. So I'd say that we are really blessed to have the freedom, but not everybody takes that to the full extent in which you can have that, which is fine. Everybody's path is different. But I think the people that maybe are raised to, hey, when you need to change your oil, here's how you do it.
Right.
I'm going to change my own oil.
Mm-hmm.
Or the people who are like, no, I'm just going to make enough money to have a new car and then pay for somebody to change my oil. My dad was always the guy that taught me how to change the oil. So that's what I know. And so when it came to ripping apart jeans and tailoring them, it just made sense for me to try it. So
I was a history teacher before I was in real estate, and one of the things that I would hear about a lot was because we are kind of a pioneering country, we tended to have people that were high risk individuals that were immigrating to this country. Like
that
they're
makes
high
sense.
risk,
Totally, 100%.
and so our gene pool tends to be more high risk.
Yeah.
So entrepreneurial spirit. Now it's just a theory, of course, but I always thought that is. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, and two, I mean, just the people here at the Commons and the other businesses in town. I think that there's something that I see in the owners of all these businesses that does unite us all. There's a drive between. It's not our choice. We can't stop.
Right.
I look at these people and I don't see any other option for their lives. There's no way that they could slow down this steam engine that is their personality, or just their intuition, or their capacity. There's a lot of capacity in the people here. So in Greenville in general, but specifically in the Commons, yeah.
What do you do when you're not here? When you're not in the shop, what do you like doing?
Well, I'm a musician as well.
Yeah.
And so
Do you have a band?
I don't have a band that I play with, but I have a lot of guys that I write and record with. So I have a full recording studio at my house, and I'll just go home and write a bunch of music. Last night I wrote 4 songs. Just same thing. It just keeps going. I cooked 2 amazing meals. So I think right now cooking and recording music is something.
Where do you get the ideas for the recipes? I like cooking myself.
Well, I think just the simple idea of grocery shopping at Trader Joe's, just being at Trader Joe's, like I'm going to try that and that and that, and so I think going in with an open mind and just it's like, well, I've never cooked tilapia like this before with this specific spice and oil. Let me try this, So I think that and then I do actually. There's a masterclass, which is it's like a online education series thing.
Yeah, I've seen that. They'll have it for everything. There's like one with like Steve Martin, teaching how to be a comedian.
Everything.
Yeah.
So I love learning. Constantly learning. So I watch that a lot, and then I'm part of another thing called Mix with the Masters, which is a similar thing, but for the recording industry specifically. It just kind of shows the nuts and bolts of how you record just anything, and very nerdy stuff, but I can't get enough of it. So
Awesome. How do you like that new back way to Trader Joe's now off of Verde?
Perfect.
Oh man,
that's what we always needed.
Seriously, I say the same thing. Just getting back there.
Yeah.
Now, you had mentioned in the bio on your website that you give money to a nonprofit, Wellspring Living.
Yep.
Can you tell everybody about that? Like, what makes them an important organization?
Well, it's actually an interesting conversation too, because until we donated for the first 8 years of our business, we stopped in 2017, the end of 2017. And, when I first started doing this, Tom's Shoes was a big inspiration for me. This idea of making a product and generating money for a cause, having a business that generates money for a cause, rather than it being a donation-based thing where, you're relying on donations. It's like, well, they're going to sell products, so they're going to rely on business to make money. So I thought that was really cool, but I thought their product would fall apart pretty quickly. So I wanted to offer a very high quality product for a cause. So human trafficking was something that was really kind of on my radar when I first started. It was something that I quickly became pretty passionate about, and I think it's really not hard to be passionate about that because it's just such a gripping story. But I was doing that for a very long time. We would donate 20% of our profit, and so every single year we would take the money that we desperately needed, and we would donate that because it felt like it was a sacrifice. It felt right. So we did that for a long time, 8 years, until the point when I realized that I was taking care of somebody else's kids before my own. And I basically needed to take the money that I was donating and give that first to my employees so they could live a life that they could stay and be happy at Billiam and not have to be sacrificing so much. So I made a hard decision to basically stop donating to a cause to pay my people more, which I think was the right decision. But ultimately, I think we gave around $25,000 to an organization. I feel really proud of that. I feel proud of the contribution we made, and it's just an organization in Atlanta that they have safe homes. They rehabilitate women that come directly off the streets, and put them in a program that helps them find jobs and get them back on their feet. Just teach them how to live a life that, after such difficult trauma, kind of show them healing and show them that, there's another way.
Do you plan to partner with other charities in the future?
Yeah. I think that was another thing about the concept of change that was big for me, was kind of understanding that even though I had said this from the beginning, there still has to be a flexibility that, say my mom gets sick with a specific thing and now this cause is the thing I want to donate to.
Yeah.
I want to be free to change course in that direction. So I think for now, as we build, I've enjoyed kind of giving that money to my employees, but I think that I'm, definitely open at all times for maybe something that's next. And I think when we get a little more stable with a few more products that we want to go after, I think we'll start doing some more things like that. Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely just who I am, and I want to be part of that movement forward. So,
good.
Yeah.
Anything you want to plug?
Ooh.
Do you have any new things on the horizon you want to plug? I mean, the shop.
The shop
come
is
to the
cool.
Commons.
Yeah, come to the Commons.
Yeah.
I think that and I've been saying this a lot because I've been giving a lot of tours of this whole space, and it has been very weird over the past year and a half after we signed our lease to watch this whole project come together. And when you sign a lease with a developer that you do not know how it's going to turn out. and I've seen it happen a lot of times.
Yeah.
I've seen it happen in bad ways for people. And this was delivered perfectly, and all the people I think that are here could agree and testify to that. But what is going to happen with this area, I've seen it in my head for a long time. Like, I knew the development here was going to be cool and special, but the development of the park and the river, it's just, I don't even feel like I need to plug it at all. I think it's just get ready. It's just going to be, what you always wanted it to be.
I didn't even realize when I first drove back here to come to the Parker Group offices, it was like, there was all this green space I had no idea existed in downtown Greenville.
Yep.
Like, it hadn't grown up here my whole life.
Yep.
It's like, I was amazed. And so I'm glad to see that we're using it for something, and we're trying to make the city more beautiful.
Oh, totally.
Okay, the name of my podcast is What's the Big Deal About Greenville? So, Bill Mitchell, what's the big deal about Greenville?
Greenville is a city where it's not Atlanta, it's not Charlotte, it's not New York City. It's a place where you have to fight for your attention, but it's ready for you if you want it. If you want to start a business, people will start talking about it. You don't have to spend the money on real estate like you'd have to spend in a big city. The noise is not here. People are ready to talk about it and support you because there's enough money in this town. But it's just, you gotta go first. You gotta be a person that, there's jean companies in other cities. Mm-hmm. There's not in Greenville. So you gotta be comfortable being that. But when you make the decision that you want to try it, you're one of a few rather than one of many. So it's a land of opportunity right now. I think it's a very obvious city to be a very important place. But the big deal with Greenville is that it is in waiting right now. It is having its moment right now.
I agree.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Well, thanks so much, Bill. I really appreciate it.
Of course, man. Yeah. Absolutely.
This podcast is written and produced by me, Bill Kammer. I'm a realtor in the Greenville area, and I'd love to be your go-to agent here. Please contact me at wkammer@parkergroupservices.com for more information. What's the Big Deal About Greenville is recorded at the Parker Group, a boutique real estate company offering residential and commercial real estate services, property management, and development consulting. Visit the Parker Group at parkergroupservices.com. For guest info, visit the website at thebigdealgreenville.transistor.fm. You can also like the show at Facebook and Instagram at The Big Deal Greenville or on Twitter at The Big Deal GVL. Artwork by Corey Godby. Music is licensed by Storyblocks Audio. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please email me at thebigdealgreenville@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, y'all.